Former Sangamon County Deputy Sean Grayson is found guilty by a downstate jury of second-degree murder in the on-duty shooting of Sonya Massey. His sentencing is set for January. Massey called police to report a prowler. That was in July of last year. Grayson shot and killed her after he says that he thought she was going to throw a pot of boiling water at him. Attorney Karen Conti joins us live now with more on this case. And Karen, you know, the Massey family had pushed for first-degree murder charges. That obviously carries a greater possible sentence. But Grayson was instead found guilty of second-degree murder. Were you surprised at the verdict?
I really wasn't. I assumed there was going to be a conviction just given the extent of the video and what it showed. But, you know, jurors also know how to put themselves in the shoes of a police officer who may be confronting something very deadly. And so I think this is a compromise verdict. I mean, first degree is intentional killing with no justification. He could have been acquitted if he believed reasonably that he needed to use this kind of force. But the jury found that his reasonable belief was not reasonable. He thought it was reasonable, but it was not. He was negligent in using that deadly force because he had other options. So I think this was a good verdict, and I think it is right in the middle of what could have happened.
He will be sentenced on January 29th. What kind of time could he be looking at serving now for second-degree murder?
Well, it's a wide range this judge has, from 4 to 20 and even probation. I don't think probation is what's going to happen here. I think given the serious nature of the crime and the public nature, I think this judge is going to want to send a message in the future that you don't use this kind of force unless you absolutely have to. And before doing so, you should de-escalate. So the judge is going to consider all kinds of things like, does he have a prior record? No, he doesn't. How extreme was this? You know, is he remorseful? And most importantly, like I said, what precedent are we going to set going forward for law enforcement when it comes to hiring people and training them?
We're showing some video and some courtroom sketches of the Gregory Bovino case. We'll get to that in just a second, but I have one last question for you here on the Sean Grayson trial. Governor Pritzker signed legislation in Massey's honor. This was to change hiring practices for Illinois police departments, Karen. And Grayson had been convicted twice of DUI. He worked for multiple departments before his employment in Sangamon County. I believe, though, this information was not used in the trial. Is that typical?
It is typical because to bring this kind of stuff in, it doesn't really weigh in the jury's mind on what happened on that instant, on that day, at that second that he pulled his gun out. You know, his background was going to be irrelevant. Now, if this was a case against the police department for their negligent hiring, certainly that would come up. But the courts are very good at keeping the evidence limited to that which is absolutely relevant to the point at issue.
Okay, so Karen, we want to switch over now to the Greg Bovino case. Border Patrol Commando Bovino sitting down for a deposition as we speak. He and a couple of agents expected to be questioned about how they've carried out arrests and these immigration raids in the city of Chicago. Tell us who's doing the questioning and what you think will come out of this deposition, if anything.
Well, plaintiffs' lawyers have brought a lawsuit against Homeland Security and ICE. And basically, they're saying that force is being used that is unreasonable and unconstitutional and unlawful. And so the judge agreed with the plaintiffs' lawyers and issued what we call a temporary restraining order that laid out what ICE has to do. If you're going to put tear gas into a crowd, you have to warn them. You have to be in fear of bodily harm. There has to be a protocol here. And so the judge issued a 6-page order that was very specified, specific as far as what was supposed to happen. In her view, this was not happening, and there was a violation or violations of this order. So this deposition is going to happen where the plaintiff's lawyers are going to sit and ask him a series of questions confidentially right now behind closed doors about what your tactics are. How are you training your people? How are you informing them on how to comply with this order? And at the end of it, hopefully the judge will have more information about whether or not ICE is doing what they should be doing.
Can we learn any of that information that's given in the deposition testimony today?
Well, right now, it's confidential. Okay. There is an order that protects it. Generally speaking, anything that happens in court is going to be public. But in this case, there was a confidentiality order just because we're dealing with national security, we're dealing with security of our country and law enforcement. And at this juncture, although it might change later, everything is going to be confidential.
Could it lead to changes, though, that we could find out about later on?
Yes, it absolutely could. And I think once this all tones down and, ICE goes away and Chicago is left to its own devices, I think that at some point there's going to be a Freedom of Information Act request, and we're going to see, maybe with some redactions on things that might impact national security. But I think we're going to get to see the large majority of what he is saying.
All right, Attorney Karen Conti, thank you. As always, good to see you.
Happy Halloween to everyone.
Thank you.